Hello, everybody. Welcome to Enterprise Search Best Practices from BlueBolt. We're going to have a good session today with Jason. I'm just going to walk through, but we're going to give a couple more minutes to try to wait for a couple more people to show up.
In the meantime, you can look at me.
All right, we had a couple more people show up, and I think it's probably about time to get moving. So my name is Chris Reisner. I'm the Chief Strategy Officer here at BlueBolt. I'll be the moderator today. Jason LaShawn, the Chief Solutions Officer at BlueBolt, will be doing most of the presentation. I'll be interjecting where appropriate. Couple of housekeeping things. We are recording this, so it'll be available, and we'll make sure everybody gets a copy of it afterward. Ask questions at any time. At the end, we'll provide some time to go over the questions. So if you have anything you need to ask, go ahead and do it at any point in time, and I'll come back and loop around. And then, yeah, let's just get moving. So, Jason, take it over.
All right, sounds good. And Chris, why don't you go ahead and mute yourself? I've got a little noise on the line. I think it's from you.
Yeah.
And I'll get moving. All right. So thanks everyone for coming today. I am Jason LaShawn, as it says right there. I'm the Chief Solutions Officer here at BlueBolt. And today's topic, as we've said, is Enterprise Search Best Practices. So let's take a look at the agenda today. All right, so we're going to talk about the importance of search. Why are we here? I think a lot of us already know this, but we're going to dig into a couple of statistics and just kind of drive the point home. We'll talk about some indications about when you know when to invest in search and how to sort of know when the time is right. Then we're going to kind of, the meat of this is going to be talking through best practices, and I'll be showing lots of examples of different ways people have approached search and talk about what they're doing right. And then at the very end, we'll talk a little bit about how to initiate a search project, and if you're convinced that you need to go down this road, how you might go about doing so. All right, so let's jump in talking about the importance of search here. Okay, so I'd like to lead off with just a couple of some statistics here. So users that perform a search convert 5 times more often than users that don't. When we talk about conversions, this isn't just e-commerce necessarily. Any website that you have is going to have some sort of conversion, some sort of goal in mind that you want your users to fulfill. And what it comes down to is that users who are using search are going to be much more directed in what they're trying to achieve. So providing the proper tools to those users, I think, is critical. I think potentially users who go to the search box are also maybe more bottom of the funnel. If they're coming in there with specific keywords in mind, they may have a specific goal that they're trying to achieve, hopefully matching the goal that you'd like them to achieve. Another big stat is that if your website search is not up to par, you've got something about along the lines of 80% of users can potentially abandon your site if the search functionality is poor. So why is that? Well, I think that given the sites that are out there, for everything from Google, of course, to Amazon, to eBay, and a bunch of other sites, as we're going to see, these other sites have all got fantastic searches, and the bar has been raised. There's an expectation that's out there that all sites should have a decent search engine. And then the other big thing that's driving this is that more and more users are going to be coming to your site on their mobile phone, and a poor search is even more infuriating if you're on your phone. People want to use navigation less and just search more. It's a faster experience. So these are kind of, I think, a couple of the trends driving that statistic. Another reason why search is important is it helps you as the content administrator. If you think about it, what other tool do you have where users can actually come into your site and tell you what they're looking for? You can look at your analytics, but that only tells you how they're consuming the content that you've deployed, but it doesn't tell you if you've perhaps got a hole. So if someone's coming to your site and searching for content that you don't have, that obviously can help you formulate your content strategy. So let's segue into the next item, how to know when to invest in a better search engine. So the obvious thing is if you've got no search function already and you've got a lot of content, you should be thinking about a search function. And I wanted to state that because it's not every site needs a great search engine. If you've only got 10 pages, you probably don't need a search. So this potentially can creep up on you as you add more and more content to your site. But more typically, this is going to come by way of analytics, the need to invest. So if you're looking at your analytics and you're seeing a lot of search returning no results, that's a pretty big indication that perhaps you need a better search engine. Now, that could either be a problem with your search engine in that it's not finding the content that you have. Perhaps it doesn't have enough synonyms or some such, but it could also be a content issue. Another indication from your analytics could be that your people using your search have a lower conversion rate than people that do not use search, because it really should be the opposite. We're finding that people that use search should convert more highly, as the statistic we just saw. So if your site is upside down on that, that's a pretty good indication that you need to invest in search. If your search results page has a high abandonment, if that's a typical page where people exit your site, that's a pretty good sign that your search needs some help. If your users are spending a lot of time on your search paginating through results, or perhaps researching on similar terms to get results, then that's a good indication that your search is not performing properly. Best case scenario is users type in what they want, the search immediately recognizes what they're trying to ask for, finds any relevant synonyms, and then gets them the most relevant content right at the top of the first page. So if it's not doing that, then that's something that needs to be addressed. So if you are finding that people are coming to your site and immediately that's their next, they go to the home page and then they go to the search, again, that tells you that your users want to use search, and from there it's an evaluation of whether your search is good enough. But if the search is the initial content finding tool that users are using as opposed to your navigation, then you should be investing in search. And the last note I want to make here is a lot of this is analytically driven here. I mean, that's what the whole point of the slide is. It may take some effort to set these up. Your Google Analytics isn't necessarily going to tell you all these things right off the bat, but it can be done. You just have to kind of go through some extra effort with your GA setup. Also, another point to invest is related to another reason why to invest is related to mobile usage. So more and more users, as everyone knows, all traffic is switching to the phone or tablet and so on, and these users are more likely to want to use search because, again, it's faster than navigating through your menu. So if your mobile bounce rate is high, a good indication that you might need to invest in search. If your mobile page views for visit are low, another good indication, or if your mobile conversion is low, all of these can potentially be helped by an improved search product. Another reason why you might think about looking and investing in a search engine is that you're still using your standard platform search. So whether you're using a CMS platform or an e-commerce platform, most of these are going to have search tools that come out of the box, but they're going to be pretty limited. They're not going to have as much customization capability. They're not going to have the relevancy tuning capability that you need generally. And it's generally known that the platform vendor, whether it's a CMS or e-commerce, is probably focused on other aspects of their platform. Or maybe a better way to put it is that they're focused across the whole broad variety of their feature set, and search is just one of a dozen things or 5 dozen things that they're looking at. So it's just as a general statement, the out-of-the-box search you get with your platform is not going to be as good as an add-on search that you can bolt onto your site. So just another indication that if you're using that, you should at least consider looking at another platform, another search platform, that is. All right, so I think, last point here, if your search was just sort of turned on and never tuned, another indication why you need to potentially invest more. And the last point regarding when to invest is if you know that your competitors have a better site search than you do, pretty good indication. They obviously thought it was important enough to invest more heavily in search, and then that becomes a competitive advantage for them. So all of these good reasons why you might think about investing more in your search. All right, so we're going to move along to best practices. So I'm going to be showing you a lot of examples here, and we'll be talking through about who's doing what and what's right. Here's just a global look at what we're going to hit on today. I'm going to divide the best practices into two general areas. So there's the search box itself, and then there's the results page. So search box is where you type your keyword query, and then the result is what you get when you hit enter. So let's look at the search box. First thing is the search box should be prominent, easy to find. What you're going to see in a lot of these examples is that it's front and center in the header. Sometimes it's off to the right-hand side, denoted by a magnifying glass. Very common. You should be wide enough for users to type in the typical keywords that make sense for your website. If users typing in their query and the search term starts moving off of the box, that's a problem. Consider having watermark guidance. So this has become more, I'll show you examples of this, but essentially it means within the search box itself, typing the word search, or perhaps telling them type in a part number or a keyword, something like that. We'll show you examples. Autocomplete and guided navigation. So this is what Google led the way on this. When you start typing in Google, they start providing you optional search terms based upon the keystrokes that you've put in. You can go even further, and we're going to look at some of those techniques. And almost the last point here is I don't think you should ignore convention with your search box. People are used to seeing search at the top, either in the center or off to the right. They're very used to seeing that magnifying glass. This is not an area where I think it necessarily pays to be creative or unique. You want to follow the herd on this and do things that are generally accepted. And the last best practice is to autofocus. And what that means, Google's another good example of this. When you go to Google's website, as soon as the page pops up, your cursor is put right inside that search box, allows you to start typing it right immediately. And this is something to consider as well for your site. All right, so let's take a look at some examples here. So we're going to start with Amazon. Obviously, the search box is the biggest thing in their header. I like how the search box itself is there's a high level of contrast between the search and the background, so it makes the search pop. Note that they've kind of left a big white space there where some folks will type in, will have an inducement, the watermark as I'm calling it, search or enter keyword or something like that. They're just leaving it wide open, and it must work for them. Another example similar in terms of the contrast is Arrow Electronics with just white on black. It couldn't be more stark in terms of the contrast. And in this case, they've got the instructional here that's actually a little bit of a marketing message, which is unique. They're the only people I've seen doing this. So they're touting the fact that they've got over 1 million products and millions of data sheets to go search through. And I think that's actually fairly effective. It tells people to perform the search and gives a little marketing message at the same time. eBay, another great example, search very prominent in their header, not as much contrast here. You can see that they've got the watermark search ... Similar to Amazon in terms of they got this category option over here to the left. If you look over here at Amazon, it takes a similar approach. And then here's a one that's a little bit different. So this is Intel. They've got a mobile first strategy here. And if you look for the search, you're going to look all the way to the right, and you'll see our familiar magnifying glass. So I think this works well, too. It's not as in your face as the other options, but it's easy to find. And if you're on your phone, it pops right out at you. And that's maybe worth noting. I'm not showing a lot of mobile screenshots here, but all of these examples, if you were to go to the mobile view of it, will have the search just as prominent. All right, so let's talk a little bit about autocomplete and guided navigation as part of the search box. I think that this is critical, and the folks that are winning in search are taking big advantage of this. So the Google approach is just to show common keywords while you're typing, and we're all familiar with that. When you're doing that, there's actually a couple of options that you have. You can show the keywords. B, you can show potential content matches. This works really well for product-based search, where you can say, well, here's products that match your search query. You can also show potential category matches. So this is a way of, if you're typing a keyword that matches a category, well, then they might be interested in seeing that entire category worth of either product or content. And you could also segment items within the guided navigation. So you could actually show, here's results in products, here's results in news, or something like that. And then you can have a combination of any of the above, as we're about to see. All right, so here's eBay, and their approach, they start typing Ralph, they're kind of jump to Ralph Lauren, and what they're doing is mixing keyword options. So they're saying Ralph Lauren Polo, these are all different keyword options at the bottom, and then they snuck in a couple of categories here. And I think this is really effective because the user doesn't have to really think about, do I want to look at categories or do I want to look at keywords? They're just see something and they click. So if they sort of make the jump immediately that I'm a guy, I'm looking for Ralph Lauren, this is probably where I want to start. So I think that this is really effective. Taking a look over at Intel, what they do when you start typing your search term is that the entire left sort of panel springs out there, and then as you're typing, they're segmenting the results potentially into 3 different areas. So they've got products that match quad, support items that are significant for quad, and then finally related searches. So they're kind of doing the segmented approach where, depending upon what you're looking for, you can find it in different areas of this guided navigation. Mouser Electronics, they're doing a really good job here, and they've got a very smart search box. And so first of all, note at the top, we've got a little bit of instruction. So they're saying you can either type in a part number or a keyword. So if I start typing in a keyword, basically alpha characters into here, it's going to give me manufacturer matches and category matches, segmented again. But now if I were to instead to type a number, it's going to recognize that I'm looking for a part number, and it's going to show me product matches. So I think this is a great way to sort of have an intelligent search that is reactive to what the user's typing and changes the experience slightly. In any case, it's critical to note that they've got a single search box. That's another best practice. I didn't really have that in the list, but you don't want to confuse your audience with having multiple search boxes. You just really want one. Here's an example from Music Direct. So this is actually a client of BlueBolt's. They're an e-commerce site that sells audio equipment as well as vinyl records. And so as a user starts typing in headphones, we're bringing back actual product results here for them, showing them the actual image and then the product title. Arrow Electronics is another good one here. So when you type in PCB, it's going to show you content matches, and then it allows you to actually search for PCB within these different product or content type categories here. So this actually is maybe a little bit more impressive than it looks like. I found that these content type filters down here are static. So whatever you type in here, you're going to get the same options. Truly dynamic would mean that, hey, PCB is available in products, but it's not, there are really no data sheets applicable to it. But in any case, it's still a helpful tool for the user. KitchenAid. I think that this is a pretty interesting keyword search box here. So they got a lot of things going on. It's actually fairly simple when you first glance at it. What it's doing is showing you, I started typing in mixer, and then it went and found me mixer products and showed them to me, and allows me to jump right to, oh yeah, I'm looking for that mixer there or this one. Gives me the option at the top to say, show me all mixers. At the bottom it says, well, maybe you want mixer accessories, so click here to see those. It's also doing a little bit of a keyword suggestion here, where I had only typed mixer, but it actually gives me the option of choosing stand as well. So they're accomplishing a lot with this type ahead here. I think that this is useful for products, for product website and e-commerce, not as useful an approach for a sort of pure content site. All right, so that covers off the best practices for our search input box. Now let's talk about best practices for the results page. So after the user types in their query and hits go, this is the results page we're looking at. So first thing I would say is your results page should include your entire universe of content. If you've got multiple websites or multiple data stores, we want to bring as much content as possible into the search results. And I'll show you examples of that. The search results page should make use of faceting and filters so that users can narrow the return result set. There's a fine line here. I think a few filters are good. You got to be careful about potential filter overload. It all depends, again, though, on the kind of users that you have. I think for certain kinds of users, the filters can be critical, and we'll see an example of that from Arrow, actually. Segment your content types. So this is the Amazon approach of saying, here's your textual results, here's your image results, here's your video results in different tabs, or perhaps in different panes within the page. Provide previewing capabilities. Let users get some idea of what happens when they click through, either by showing hover states or perhaps modal pop-up windows that allow you to see the video without leaving the results page, and we'll show you examples of that. Provide display options. So users will have different needs, and so they will. Different users might want to display your results in different ways, either maybe in a list view versus a grid view, and we've got some good examples of that coming up. Provide sorting options, popularity, date, price, etc. And then finally, your results page should do a good job of handling language. And really, this is something related to your just general search engine relevancy, is that it needs to do a good job of identifying synonyms, handling plurality and misspellings, so that your user doesn't have different results depending upon whether or not they typed in the plural form of a keyword, or that they missed some results because they didn't use your favored synonym. Your search engine should really take all that into account so that the best results are sort of provided regardless of your user's choice of language. All right, so let's look at some examples here. So federated search, what does that mean? Again, it means searching across multiple data sources. So if you've got multiple websites, perhaps you've got different brands or different specialized portals that you have content in, why not have a search that goes across all those different content stores? So again, that could be brands, forums, cloud content stores such as Amazon S3 or Dropbox or something like that. If you've got a CRM solution, go pull data out of there potentially to show them either different locations or so on. Your ERP system, wherever you have meaningful data that can be helpful to your customer in the context of a keyword search, we would advocate pulling all that content into a single search engine or search index. And why? Because this saves frustration and it makes your user more efficient. It also lets your user see all the different things that you're doing. So if they've gone to your main website, they may not realize that you have a specialized portal for your maybe annual meeting or for some special promotion that you're doing. So this helps expose all your content to the user, makes their life easier, and should help increase your conversions. An example of this is the American Society of the Hand, and this is another client of ours. So when you go to their homepage and you click into the search box, you get this little drop-down option here that immediately kind of gives you the clue that you're about to search across a whole number of different websites, a bunch of different web portals that they've got for different purposes. And so a single search, keyword search, will go across all of those. And this shows you the results page that gets after, I in this case, search for thumb. And you'll note a few things here. So that in terms of best practices, along the left, we've got some faceting capability. So if I didn't choose to sort of filter by a single portal on that homepage option, I can do so right here. Across the top here in the horizontal axis, I've got ability to segment by different content types, very Google-like. So the initial tab that they want to show are the videos, but then they've got articles, images, and so on. We've also got content previewing capabilities here. So if I was to click on one of these videos, I'd actually get to view it in a modal pop-up, and we'll see an example of that in a moment. It's a little easier to demonstrate. Let's take a look at another option here. So this is from another client of ours called the ACGME. It's a medical accreditation organization. And so what they're doing here that I want to point out as a best practice is the results template is very flexible and will adjust a little bit according to the content type. So here we're showing results for people. We've got a little icon that denotes it's a person. We're showing their phone number, their email address, just basically the information that you need if you're searching for in this case I searched for dermatology, these are the individuals in the organization responsible for that. Above that I've got some events results, and in that case the template switches up a little bit and shows the actual event meeting date. So making intelligent choices in your template so that the template adjusts to the needs of the kind of content that you're displaying, I think is very helpful. Another best practice is I mentioned about having a flexible display view. So, and I can actually show you a live version of this. So this is another client of ours called Herberger. And so here's the browser view of this, and this is their events listing that came from search. In this case, I haven't done a keyword search yet. I'm just showing all events. But I can choose to view this as part of a calendar grid, or I can switch to a list view of this. Very helpful because users may want to have different views depending upon what their particular task is at that point in time. And while we're here, we could also show you, let me just kind of refresh the page. Oh, I got logged out. Let's see if we can get logged in real quick. There we go. I'll show you a little bit of the content previewing capability. And so with image galleries here, let's do a search for Valve. Rather than just allow people to click through the image results, let's actually allow them to actually view the image results right within the search. So this is what I mean when I say content previewing or content consumption. I can actually jump from different items within this gallery right within the search results, and if I decide this wasn't the gallery I wanted, I just close it and it goes away. The same thing happens here with video. If I click a video, it pops up, I can view it, decide, yeah, that's not the one I was looking for, and go to a different one right away. So this is what we mean when we talk about content previewing. Okay, and I jumped ahead a little bit. More best practices for search results. So Arrow Electronics has what I would call an extreme parametric search here. This is a highly functional search results page where I can do all sorts of things. So let's point out a couple of things here. First of all, I've got these parametrics filters here. These will adjust as I dig in and perform some filtering and faceting options, and they'll tell me that. So selected category will provide you with more filters. So as I choose active semi-incorporated, then these parametric options here will in fact change. If I look down here at the bottom results, I can actually edit the columns that are shown in my search results. I can toggle between product results and datasheet results. So this is what I would call highly functional. I don't think that this is appropriate for all types of users in all types of search situations. It just happens to be that Arrow serves a very technical community, an engineering-based community, and I think that this type of parametric search is ideal for that kind of audience. Also note, again, with the instructional text here, providing some context to the user, and they're also finding sort of ways to push the fact that they've got a lot of products here. I think that's useful from and it's a best practice in general to constantly let the user know, hey, what's the current context here? You're about to sift through 1,000 results, and letting them know sort of where they sit in their search and how many potential content items they have to look through. Going the other direction is Mixcloud, and let's kind of pull our, whoops, there we go. Let's pull the browser back over here. So this is Mixcloud is a music website, allows users to essentially play streaming radio. and this search is a lot simpler and it's more consumer driven. So initially at the top, they're showing matching tags. I search for salsa, and they've broken their content into two different columns, shows versus users. Very simple and straightforward. However, they do provide a few more advanced filtering options, but they kind of hide them away, so advanced users can decide to click into those if they want, or the default state is to have them hidden away. So I think this is a nice study in contrast between Mixcloud and Arrow. So your end user audience will kind of dictate the way that your search results page should operate, I think. Okay, and we already showed the Herberger site, so I don't think we need to go through that anymore. So I think that completes our best practices in terms of we showed you best practices for the search input box and best practices for the results page, and hopefully those examples were useful to you. All right, so we're about at the half-hour point, and we're reaching the end of the talk today. And the last agenda item was to talk about how to potentially initiate a search project. So if you've become convinced that, hey, this is something we need to look at, an improved search might be a real benefit to my site, I want to kind of talk through how to approach that. I think the first thing you need to do is make an assessment of the weaknesses of your current search. So you want to gather your analytics data. You want to attempt to quantify the costs of having a poor search. And this might be from establishing the fact that your search conversion rate is lower than your browse conversion rate. And if you look at the number of searches you have versus browse sessions, that should allow you to sort of figure out what the cost is there, as long as your conversion rate has a monetary value associated with it anyway. Attempt to those are two sides of the same coin, essentially. What's the cost of a poor search? What's the benefit of a good search? Identify the pain points of your existing search. Is it that you're missing content, it's not finding all the content? Is it have poor language handling, where if you use a plural form of a word, it dramatically changes the search results? That's an issue, obviously. Is it that it's not pulling up the content that you think is most relevant to particular keyword searches? Is it slow? So go through and figure out what it is about your current search that's failing you, so that you can have those ideas in mind as you look for a potential replacement. And then after you've got those pain points established, you can look at and see if are there ways that you don't have to necessarily change your current engine, maybe you can improve it and get rid of those pain points. In a lot of cases that there are potential improvements that can be made, sometimes not. And when not, that's when you need to go out and look for an outboard search engine. So from there, identify different ways that you can approach and improve your search engine. So what you might want to do is look at what comparable sites or competitors are doing. What's their approach? How are they getting around the pain points that you're experiencing? And what you might be able to look at is even tell, are they using an outboard search engine? You can use a tool called BuiltWith to potentially help you with that. Or you can assess it from, if it's a cloud-based search tool, sometimes they actually have attribution right there. Determine if there are any solutions for your particular platform. So for instance, if you are using the Sitecore CMS, Coveo it's a search engine called Coveo, has an excellent plugin specifically for Sitecore. So that's something you might want to look at. If you're using DNN or Drupal, we at BlueBolt have a search engine called Bravo Squared that has plugins specifically for those CMSs. So go out into the marketplace for your platform, whether it's e-commerce or CMS, and look for specific tools for that. Then establish your requirements, and there's going to be very much addressed built around your pain points, but don't stop there. Just because something is you've got identified 5 pain points, you can probably improve your search in other areas as well. Look for service providers that can help you identify a solution. So there's with any sort of platform decision, whether it's a CMS platform, e-commerce platform, or search engine platform, you've got a couple of different ways to attack this. One is you can identify the platform itself, looking at the software, and then from there identify a solution provider, a service provider, in other words, or you can find service providers and ask them for their advice regarding different search engines. I think you need to go a little bit down both paths. IT people tend to go looking at the platforms in depth and make their own judgments about what platform they might want. Maybe they like Elasticsearch better than Solr, or they like Coveo, or any number of other options out there. Whereas marketing people tend to look for service providers that can provide the best practices like we just kind of went through, along with some point of view regarding different search engines that are available, and then lean on your service provider to kind of guide you through that process. You can start to look at your different options for installation of the search engine. So you can have an on-premise search engine where you take the software from the search engine provider, install it on your server, and hook it up to work with your site. Or there are cloud-hosted options as well, more popular, and the world seems to be, everything seems to be going towards a cloud-hosted or SaaS model. And I think that concludes my presentation today. The last thing I want to mention is just a quick sort of commercial for our solution. So BlueBolt is a consulting company. We have a specialty in providing search engine services or site search services, and we've built our own search platform called Bravo Squared. So you might check out bravosquared.com to learn more about that, or you can check out blueboltsolutions.com to learn more about our services. At this point, I'll open it up for questions, and be glad to hear what you guys are thinking out there.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Jason. That was great. Fantastic discussion. So we do have a couple questions out here. The first one is we're worried about security. Can you talk about how security is handled within the system? What's the best way to handle that?
Sure. So this is particularly important if you're doing a true enterprise search where you're searching your internal content a lot of times for to enable your employees to find enterprise content. So the nightmare scenario is that an employee is able to find the payroll records or any sort of human resource type information regarding other employees. So establishing security up front is critical. It's less important for situations where you're just searching on-site content and perhaps everything's available to the public, like your typical e-commerce scenario. In either case, all search engines are going to have some capability to manage content permissions and content rules. So it's mostly an exercise in consulting and establishing up front what the requirements are related to security, what different content roles you have, and then making sure that those are taken into account as you build out the solution.
Okay, great. Next question is, most of what you're discussing sounds very technical. Are there tools that are available for administrators or non-technical personnel?
So yeah, great point. And I would say that you've hit on a point as to why search engine site search can be difficult. It is a very technical exercise in terms of setting up a search engine, properly ingesting the content into that engine, and building the relevancy rules and so on. That being said, there is a role for content administrators to play. Content administrators a lot of times can be responsible for managing synonyms. While there are synonym libraries that you can bring to bear for sort of typical language-based synonyms, you might have terms of art that are specific to your industry, or finding brand synonyms and so on that you would like to manage as a person, or as you need a human being to manage. And so a lot of these tools will have synonym management capabilities, or sometimes they have capabilities to manage what we would call direct linking. So if someone types in a specific keyword, don't go to the search results page, go directly to a specific landing page that you designate. So there are content management tools out there for non-technical people that many of these engines provide.
Yeah, it sounds almost like Google's I'm feeling lucky.
Correct, yes, yeah.
All right, so the next one is, what is the best way to evaluate how much data can be handled by the system?
Okay, so if we're concerned either about speed or if we're concerned about just general capacity, I think that's going to be more of a infrastructure or hosting question. And if you are interested in pursuing a cloud-hosted or SaaS option for your search engine, that's going to be a question that's brought to the forefront, because a lot of times the pricing is going to be determined based upon the amount of content in your index. If you are doing an on-premise option where you're hosting the software on servers that you control, then the capacity of that is really determined by how much hard disk space you make available to it. You do need to take the capacity in mind as well with speed. So if you've got 1 million or 10 million records, you want to make sure that that's just as fast as if you were searching, 10,000 records. So what it comes down to, though, is that these are infrastructure questions as well as configuration type considerations. It gets really technical, and I forgot the exact question that you answered, but in essence, if you're concerned about your search capacity, you're going to need to rely on your technical consultation, your technical service provider, to make sure it's properly addressed.
Well, that's fantastic. The last one is, I'm going to not read it directly, but I'm going to interpret it, and it is about mobile, and it's asking, are there any best practices around searches on mobile? You provided a lot of examples around desktop, but not mobile.
Yeah, and I probably should have had a few more mobile screenshots. So a lot of the same rules apply. When we think about the search input box, it needs to be prominent. It needs to be at the top. We need to have obvious user experience, such as using that magnifying glass that everyone knows means search. So that should be very easy to find, either at the top of your screen on your mobile or the top right. You want, if you're using filters, those should be collapsed upon initial view, but easily found so that users can use them to segment. But you don't want to have to scroll through a whole bunch of filters in order to get down to your actual content. And of course, it needs to be fast. The whole point of search, in many cases, is to provide fast access to content, particularly with a mobile device. So I think a lot of the same points apply, but there's just a slight twist to it related to the mobile implementation.
Okay, that's fantastic. That was all the questions we had for right now, and we appreciate everybody's time. Thank you so much for joining us. Just to reiterate, we did capture all of this information. We recorded it, and we'll provide an email with a link to be able to review it as well, and the slides will be provided as well. So we'll make sure everybody gets a copy of that when we're ready to provide it within the next 24 to 48 hours. So thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody.